Check 1, 2. Hey, what's going on, y'all? You know that you see what it say. You see what it say. I'm your host, New Simple NEW. And we're doing another quick little podcast, man. About Michigan, man. It's about Jim Harbaugh, University of Michigan, and the science stealing scandal. At least that's what they call it, the science stealing scandal. Well, at least that's what I call it. I'm not sure what exactly they qualified it or calling it, but it's a big thing. And actually, I always say this a lot too. I'm a born and raised Michigander, so this conversation kind of almost seem like it contradicts what this whole podcast, this show is about. It's called No Fan, Groupie, or Sloppy. And before we even get started, and that's that Michigan fight song, man. You gotta love that, man. That you can't. That's not only is that the Michigan. Well, we'll get into that a little bit later, but that's one of the greatest fight songs of all time, right there. What we looking for? Okay. Yeah. So I like to hit these disclaimers too, real quick, just in case, man. We get into a few things. No Fan Sports Podcast is providing this podcast as a public service, but it is neither a legal interpretation nor a statement of No Fan Sports Podcast policy. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or a recommendation by No Fan Sports Podcast. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity that they represent. Views and opinions expressed by myself are those of my own and do not necessarily reflect the view of No Fan Sports Podcast or any of its officials. And finally, the fair use disclaimer, copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, and scholarship and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Now that we got that out the way, I want to I'm probably every time I start this thing up, but we got this mission statement at No Fan. That's what we call this, No Fan. And if you get a chance, go on to my No Fan, I Don't Speak Fan Groupieslappy Facebook page. You'll be able to find it. See if I can put that. How you find it in the DM? No, they're in the DMs. Check the credits. Description. It's in there. The No Fan Slappy, whatever, Facebook page, and I posted it on there before, and I'm gonna probably post it again sometime soon. But kind of put out like a mission statement, what we represent here at No Fan. And what it's all about. So I'm just going to read it a little bit. I'm going to read it, brief description, and we go through dialogue. First, it goes on to give you a definition of a fan, an enthusiast, a devotee, groupie, a fan of music group or follows a group of sports figures, a fan of a sports celebrity or whatever. That's the groupie. And then the slappy, we're talking about just a darn right stupid or moronic person. Okay, now. This further on to the mission statement. No Fan is a fan groupie slappy free zone. We here at No Fan are dedicated not to just the analytics, metrics, and or statistics that are part of any given sport, but also the non-measurables that doesn't get recognized on the stat sheet. Things like heart, mental tenacity, drive, hunger, etc., as well as being able to understand the difference between athleticism versus actual skills and fundamentals. Instead of being caught up like a deer in the highlights, in the highlights, as you in awe of his or her physical gifts from above, yeah, that's fan talk. No, we don't do that here. We speak of X's and O's that many of you mistake for hate. And I have to keep reiterating this because, like I said about this show too, just the same. We're dealing with the University of Michigan football program. My man Jim Harbaugh, and I'm a Michigan native, born and raised here, born and raised Detroiter. Keep talking like I think I mentioned this before, on the corner of Webb and Tuxedo, the Tuxedo Metropolitan Hospital, right there. Used to be on the corner there. And I said all that to say that, like I said, it's gonna seem kind of like Homer-ish, but I had to put that out there because what we go speak on when we speak it on this scandal, and I'm just be perfectly honest with you. I think it's a bit much. I ain't gonna say it should be overlooked. I do feel that if they go through the due process like they should, I do think all parties involved should be disciplined to whatever degree that they feel necessary. How heavy those fines are, I've been reading a few things. I don't know the severity of it, but or the penalties or what have you. But I still think it needs to run through a process. And for some reason, it seems like it's on this fast track. So I really wasn't understanding who was doing what until I actually sat back. I had a chance and I took a good look, and you got two governing bodies that's really attacking this. And it was seeming like, well, for me, I was gathering when I was, receiving this information. It was just so kind of confusing because I'm like, they're saying this, that, and the other thing. I'm like, well, who doing this? And then, so we had the Big Ten with a strong rush push to find guilty and punish immediately, and the NCAA is running its investigation just as well. So, and as far as what I've been understanding, their investigation can take months. It can take years. Okay, but it was like a rush to judgment in light of this Harbaugh situation. Now, he was already suspended, I think, for 3 games earlier this year for a recruiting violation. I think, according to records, they say he bought some young man a cheeseburger. Okay, so he missed 3 games for that. And then now we got the scandal that's going on in the mid-season. Like I said, this is gonna come on. I'm really, and this is a dig at some of my Michigan fan Harbaugh haters. I know of quite a few of them. I work with a lot of them. Loving things that's going on right now, but the whole time, I was standing fast behind Harbaugh. I was getting hit. Pow, 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 pow. I can take the hits. I have no problems with that. But we have to acknowledge everything that I said and what we were looking at and what we was able to obtain with him being as our head coach has come to fruition. And actually this year, they really, really look like they can come away. They can actually walk out of this thing, in my opinion, with the natty, providing they finish off the season like they should. So I said, and I say this all the time when we talk Michigan in the state of Michigan football. I felt like we received a death penalty, and I felt like when Rich Rod was hired, I felt like that was the death sentence. This was they hired him right after Lloyd Carr finally retired, which he should have maybe about 2 years after that 97 championship. At that point, the game, in my opinion, had passed him by as far as how he not necessarily how he recruited, because again, we always had them studs and different things, but at his quarterback position, things was changing. The dynamic of the quarterback position was changing across the country. And that's another podcast, man. We're gonna do that too real soon. I got a book coming. It's called The Evolution of a Black Quarterback. We're gonna have to have that conversation. But the landscape was changing, and one of the measuring sticks for the University of Michigan, as well it is for the Ohio State University, It's how well that coach does against, one or the other. I remember Ohio State had a coach, Jim Cooper, I think it was John Cooper, and he was actually he ranked pretty high, I think, in their wins and loss columns as far as in Ohio State history. But his failure, I think he lasted a good 10 seasons too. His failure came was, I think he never he had in his whole tenure, I think he never beat Michigan. He had, he was 0-10 against Michigan. And that ultimately got, in my opinion, many people feel this way. Probably sure they feel this way, or he probably even feel this way. That it was the reason because he didn't beat Michigan. So after the '97 championship, Michigan kind of got a little dose of that themselves. Ohio State brought in Tressel, and I think Lloyd Carr was 1-7 against Tressel. And part of that reason was Tressel had, he started going to a different phase of the game. The game had passed Lloyd. Lloyd still was drafting or recruiting them big, tall, pocket passers. Rest of the college football was entertaining the more athletic quarterbacks and the speed of the game, and different things like this. It's just changing. I think Lloyd, they held on to Lloyd too long, man. He, his tenure, like I said, he was 1-7 against Tressel. And the reason why he couldn't keep up with that because he wasn't changing with the times, in my opinion. So Michigan went desperate and got that Rich Rod. Rich Rod came in with I heard his defense called 3-3-5 defense, and he came in with that Pop Warner style football, man, completely destroyed the program. Completely destroyed the program, in my opinion. Brought in, the University of Michigan recruits itself. Rich Rod came in and brought in, oh my goodness, he attracted, blessed them young men's heart. But, and nothing against smaller players, but he brought in the Division II JUCO, couldn't quite make it, but was good. I mean, just the smaller stature just changed the whole dynamic of the program. It was a complete bust, a complete failure. And right after that, they went Brady Hoke. Brady Hoke started bringing the school back into its traditional fold, so to speak, And I had said prior to, this whole Harbaugh hiring, for the University of Michigan to get back in the fold after that Rich Rod debacle, it was going to take at least possibly I was telling them like 3 to 4 coaches before they can probably shake off that death sentence and actually get back in the right direction. I think Hope lasted a couple of years, and whatever, however low it went from Rich Rod to Hope. Then we went into what we had now and Jim Harbaugh. And I don't understand the dynamic. I'm sure some other underlying thing. He might be a creep. I don't know. I don't know the man personally. Never met him. Might be hard to deal with all this, that, and other thing. But hell, I remember watching Woody Hayes strike a Clemson player because they picked off their buck. Yeah, you love you Buckeye fans. Y'all don't never want y'all don't want to talk about Woody Hayes jumping on players on national TV. Oh my goodness, that's another story too. Some of you young cats probably don't know nothing about that. But anyway, you know, the coaches they have some issues. So I don't know. I ain't saying Harbaugh squeaky clean on any level, but what I do recognize is, and this is what we do at No Fan. When we start talking about the stuff that you can't put on the stat sheet, when we talk about stuff that you just see, and the eye test, and the sixth sense. I got a sixth sense when it comes to the sports thing and players and things, as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, so if you followed him, I think it was San Diego State. They was when he went over